Hi everyone, welcome to the Buffett and Beyond Research Stocks of the Week. Yes, we're doing two this week because we're comparing Visa to Mastercard, and that's the question. Do you want to buy Visa stock or do you want to buy Mastercard stock, or maybe neither one of them? And remember folks, if you want to live on this beach like Jimmy Buffett used to live, you've got to learn how to invest even better than Warren Buffett does now. I'm going to show you some of his results in a second. And remember, for those of you who want a full month free subscription of these stocks, and you get to look at the archives for the past 6 months or so, 4 letters during the week and 3 videos on each weekend, then we just need your name and email. Go to our site, buffettandbeyond.com. Buffett is spelled with 2 F's and 2 T's, buffettandbeyond.com. Sign up for the free subscription so you get it for a month. All right, let's see what these stocks do. Visa is the world's largest electronic or largest retail electronic payments network, providing processing services and payment platforms. And of course, it includes credit, debit, prepaid, commercial payments, which of course Mastercard does also. And they are offered under the Visa, Electron, Interlink, and Plus brands. Visa Plus is one of the largest global ATM networks. So that's what you want to see, ATM, yeah. Has about 26,500 employees. Mastercard, on the other hand, is a global leader. And it doesn't say the global leader, it says a global leader in electronic payments. It serves as a processor, franchisor, and advisor to about 25,000 financial institutions and has about 33,400 employees. So Mastercard, relative to employees, is a larger company than Visa. But they are both big companies, believe me. All right, now let's look at how these stocks have performed, or some of their statistics relative to performance. So the clean surplus return on equity is not the traditional accounting return on equity, but it's a type of return on equity that is able to compare Visa and Mastercard, but also outside of the financial industry. So in other words, you can compare Mastercard with U.S. Steel, you can compare Mastercard or Visa with Amazon and with Apple. So that's what the clean surplus return on equity means. And think of your bank account. It's kind of akin, say, within 80% of a bank account, because the blue line is the average stock in our database, which has the S&P 500 plus another couple of hundred stocks. So the average return on equity is 13.5%. With Visa, 17%, and Mastercard, 21.8%. So we can see with the clean surplus return on equity that both of these stocks are better than the average stock relative to the clean surplus return on equity. Now, how about net income? And net income represents the clean surplus earnings. So you take traditional accounting earnings, take away non-recurring items, future liabilities, and you get the net income, which are the pure operating income of the company's main products. In other words, if Visa or Mastercard sell a building, that goes on, and they make a profit on it, that goes on the income statement, but that's not their business. They don't sell real estate as a business. So clean surplus net income takes away all the things that do not have anything to do, or not much, to the operations of the company. And again, you can see the average company about 13%, Visa 17.3%, and Mastercard 20.9%. Then when we talk about revenue, yep, that's revenue for everybody. It's the same. The average revenue about 7.1%, both Visa and both Mastercard outperforming. But it looks like Mastercard outperforms Visa, and they both look like they should be outperforming the average stock out there. Now, let's look at just Visa and Mastercard. Visa is the black line. This is over 5 years. Visa is the black line, and Mastercard is the yellow line. So, yeah, we do see Mastercard outperforming Visa. Let's go back again. We do see Mastercard, this green line, outperforming the red line, which is Visa. So Mastercard outperforming Visa in the numbers, and therefore it shows up in the price. Now let's go over 1 year, and now the black line is the S&P 500, blue line is Mastercard, and the yellow line is Visa. So again, Mastercard is outperforming Visa over 1 year, but both of them are underperforming the S&P 500, which is unusual when the statistics show that they should be outperforming the S&P 500. And we're going to show you why in a moment. And let's look at 5 years. And again, black line is the S&P 500. Mastercard, blue line, way outperforming Visa like it's supposed to. But these two stocks really should be outperforming the S&P 500. Now let's look at our growth portfolio. And here's the reason we don't have Visa in our portfolio, and we still have Mastercard, but we don't think we're going to keep Mastercard going into the next year. Now, the red line is our model growth portfolio since 2019. So we're looking at a little bit more than 5 years, 5.5 years. The yellowish line is Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway, and the bluish line is the S&P 500. So you could see our growth portfolio outperforms both the S&P 500 and Warren Buffett himself. Now, if you listen to Warren Buffett and his yearly shareholders meetings that they have in Omaha, Nebraska each year, and they speak and answer questions all day long, both he and Charlie Munger, who was his partner, who has just recently passed away. But they have tapes on YouTube, so you can go in and listen to 45 minutes at a shot of questions that are asked to them and some of their theories on investing. And Buffett says he will not in the future be able to outperform the S&P 500. And these last 5.5 years or so show that Buffett, the yellow line, is not outperforming the S&P 500. But if you use clean surplus analysis and pick the best 20 or 30 stocks each year out of the 800, 900, and we go up to 1,800 stocks in our one database, we can see that if you pick the best performing stocks, you will outperform the S&P and Buffett by a long ways. Look at this. This is 5.5 years, and yet we're doubling our growth portfolio. Our model portfolio is doubling the Buffett and the S&P 500. And why do I say it's a model portfolio? Because we start each year with the exact same amount of money in each position. So this is a 30 stock portfolio that we have, our growth portfolio. We have 3 other portfolios, and this is a 30 stock portfolio, and at the end of each year we replace any stocks if need be, because you might have a good stock like Visa and Mastercard look good, but there's other stocks that are doing better, such as an Amazon, such as an Apple, such as a Microsoft, such as a Meta. And those are the stocks that we put in our portfolio. They have to be better than the average stock out there. And we take 30 stocks each year, and it shows that we outperform double over the past 5.5 years. That's pretty amazing, folks. So let's go back to Visa and Mastercard, because this is the return on equity for each of these stocks. The average stock has a 13.5% return on equity, and Visa and Mastercard have above that, but we can see that Visa is not growing its earnings. So in other words, if this company has a consistent clean surplus ROE, that means its earnings are growing by the same amount each year. On the other hand, when we look at Mastercard, we can see that they had a 27% return on equity, clean surplus return on equity, and that has been going down over the years. So the market looks at this and says, okay, first of all, Visa is below our threshold and we're talking about Buffett and Beyond's threshold of 20% to get into our growth portfolio, and that's why it's not there any longer. And with Mastercard, we can see that ROE going down. Now it has an above 20% ROE, but that ROE is declining. That means the earnings are still growing, but they are growing at a decreasing rate. And the market looks at that and says, okay, there's other stocks out there that are growing at an increasing rate, so let's get into those. Now, let's look at the net income of Visa and the revenue growth of Visa, and let's look at the net income and revenue growth of Mastercard. So these are the 5-year averages right up here, and we can see for 24 and 25 that both of these stocks performing less than their 5-year averages. So the market looks at these two stocks and says, okay, they're good, they're still good stocks, but their earnings are starting to, or their numbers are starting to decrease from their 5-year averages. Again, here are the 5-year averages here, and you can see for 24 and 25 that their numbers, both Visa and Mastercard, are below their 5-year averages. Now, why is this happening? Well, we really don't care why it's happening, but think about it. You have Apple Pay now, you have PayPal out there, so a lot of the business, or some of the business, is being taken away from Visa and Mastercard, and some of those other companies are growing faster than Visa and Mastercard, and that's maybe why Apple is doing so much better than Visa and Mastercard. And of course, we'll show Apple in a different video, not today. So we can see that Visa and Mastercard are slowing down, is what it comes down to, and Visa does not meet that 20% threshold that we want for our portfolio any longer. Now here's our growth portfolio against Berkshire, which is the yellowish line. S&P 500 is the bluish line, and the red line is our 30 stock portfolio. And so we have a record since 2003, the beginning of 2003. So we have numbers for 2003 all the way up to just a couple of weeks ago for 2024. So you can see that we have 22 years of returns, and you can see on a compounded basis. So in other words, if you put money in the beginning of 2003 and you kept it in there all that time, you are 2.5 times Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway, and two times Berkshire Hathaway, 2.5 times on a compounded basis better than the S&P 500, which is this blue line. So you can see that over the years, Buffett did so well in the early years that over the 22 years, he is outperforming the S&P 500. But we just saw in the past 5 years, he has not. So what you want to be able to do is put the better stocks, the faster growing stocks, the good stocks in your portfolio. And we have 30 each year, and we probably change about 5 to 6 a year. And it's not because the stocks that are leaving are not good stocks. It's just that there are better stocks coming in. You've heard of NVIDIA. You heard of Now. You've heard of Nova Nordisk. Yeah, even Eli Lilly is in that area of weight loss and drugs for certain illnesses out there, and they are part of some of these portfolios. So those are the kind of stocks we want in the portfolio. So folks, we had a pretty good week. We've had a pretty good year so far this year, with some of our portfolios up around 30-something%. Actually, last week one was up 35%. So we're doing very, very well. And be thankful for this year, because even the S&P is doing very, very well. So if you want to be or walk on this beach like Jimmy Buffett once did, about 5 miles up the road here, you want to be able to invest even better than Warren Buffett does now. So folks, go out, take your mind off the market, have a good weekend, have Sunday dinner with your family, and folks, we'll be back here with you in a couple of days.